Ohio State closed out its spring schedule with its spring game, and as we have done every single time we are in Ohio Stadium watching Ohio State play football, we're grading the quarterbacks. We're going to grade Lincoln Kinos and Julian Sayin, but separately. We're going to start with Sayin. He was 17 of 24 for 175 yards and 1 touchdown. He could have had another touchdown had Mylan Graham not dropped the ball. Stefan, we'll start with you. What's your grade for Julian Sayin?
Yeah, I gave it an A. Actually, along with this video on cleveland.com, I published a report card for the quarterbacks, and I gave Julian Sayin an A.
Look at you promote yourself, man.
Oh, what can I say? Check it out, cleveland.com/OSU. I thought Julian just straight up looked good today, and it was by far the best we've seen him play out of the open practices that we've had. We had the Student Appreciation Day where he looked shaky, and I think that was maybe overshadowed a bit by Lincoln Kinos looking pretty good that day. We got access to practice leading up to the spring game, and it was not great from Julian. There were some turnovers in there, and Saturday he just looked comfortable, and I agree with what Ryan Day said. It seemed like he just kind of established a rhythm early and was flowing with that, and that's what you wanted to see, man. Like, he's a guy who's progressing through this spring, has not played a ton of football. You know, he made appearances in garbage time last year, but no significant snaps. The more 11-on-11 he can play, the better he's going to get. And I think we saw that today at Ohio Stadium just because of that rhythm aspect to it. Like, it just looked smooth. It looked easy to him. It looked like a guy who's, read this defense, how many times the last 15 practices. Like, he understands what this offense is trying to do. And I like that Ohio State challenged him and the other quarterbacks as well. Ryan Day said they were pretty pass-heavy. Brian Hartline made that an emphasis. They were throwing the ball a ton. I think that's because they wanted to challenge the 3 quarterbacks, and I thought Julian responded well. This was probably the best we've seen Julian play since he got to Ohio State. Whether you want to talk about the garbage time or practices, whatever it was, this was the best he's looked. And I think it's kind of been like percolating the last few weeks of just like, okay, like all the reports on Julian Sayin are, hey, don't freak out, but it hasn't looked great. And I think everyone in the stadium, everyone watching, all of Ohio State, Buckeye Nation was probably like, okay, everything's fine. He looks good. The 5-star quarterback looks like he's going to be good.
So A from Stefan. Andrew, you were A?
Yeah, I'm in an A as well. I thought he looked pretty good. I think he looked comfortable. And there's another part of the spring game that we're going to talk about here and another video and on our podcast, but he had a lot of time and he made a lot of layered throws that I thought were pretty good. You got to remember in the spring game, there was no F it, Jeremiah down there somewhere moment, right? There was no safety valve of Jeremiah. I think he played 2 series and then he was done. Like, Jeremiah didn't play a lot. So you got to take into account he didn't have the best offensive player in the sport on his side today, and maybe definitely one of the best players, maybe the best player in the sport. He didn't really have that safety valve, but I thought there were some really nice throws. He had that throw to Max Clare down the seam that was a touchdown. Like, I thought he looked really sharp. There were moments where you looked at and went, okay, there wasn't really a drop. There wasn't and I'm not talking about receiver drops, I'm talking drop off and play. There wasn't a moment where you looked at and went, gotta make that throw, or really bad read, or didn't look great there. There were a few moments that I think you saw with Lincoln and certainly with Tavian, which, to be expected from Tavian. I mean, he's a freshman and this is his first spring practice. But there were moments where you could have looked at it and went, Julian, this is where it could have fallen off, and it didn't. And I thought consistency was really big for Julian today. I thought he looked the best of the quarterbacks. I thought he was really comfortable in the pocket. This looked like the quarterback that we had kind of been talking about in the offseason leading into spring practice, and even through a good portion of spring practice. I think in the last week or two, there has kind of been this notion of Lincoln Kienholz pushing Julian, but this was the quarterback I think that we had thought we had seen. This was the quarterback that Denzel Burke talked about at the NFL Combine. I thought he was pretty good today. I give him an A. I think when you map out all these things that he did and all the things that he did well, to me, that mattered a lot.
I think one thing that's promising too, and even in the shaky moments that we've seen from Julian earlier this spring, he's very good over the middle of the field, and not just like check downs, 5 yards past the line of scrimmage. Like, we've seen him hitting that kind of route down the seam, whether it be Max Clare today. I think we saw it with Mylan Graham at Student Appreciation Day. Like, he's very comfortable with that. I think that's promising for a young quarterback, that throwing the ball down the middle field could be really dangerous sometimes, especially when you're playing against, 2 deep safeties. There's a lot that could go wrong, and he's very comfortable with that. I think he's got to be better on some of the back shoulders, some of the things on the outside, but like, that's one area where you watch him practice and you're thinking to yourself, slot receivers like Brandon Ennis, tight ends like Max Clare, they're going to be a factor down the field, down the middle, because of what Julian Sayin likes to do.
Yeah, something about those California quarterbacks who come to Columbus, they can just really throw it down the middle there. You guys are talking about Julian like he's the prince who was promised or something like that.
He was the prince who was promised.
He looked pretty good today.
Literally went to Alabama to play with Nick Saban. Was a 5-star, and then came to play for Ryan Day.
So he was Saban's prince that was promised.
And well, he's the first prince of Columbus now.
That's funny. You guys are. I'm going to be a tougher grader because I'm going to take big picture and take the entire spring. For starters, I think the throw to Max Clare, that over the seam that's the best throw we have seen any of these quarterbacks throw this spring. From what we have gotten to see, we only got to see a small window of practice. I'm going to give him a B because I'm taking the entire spring into account. We cannot dismiss the fact that the other 2 times we saw the quarterbacks live, night and day, like almost the opposite player of this. And I'll get into why that was a good thing for Lincoln Kinos in a different video. But B+, I'll give him a B+ for that since you guys gave him an A. But I do think Julian Sayin accomplished what he needed to accomplish today. And that was what 2021 C.J. Stroud did. Did he win the job today? Officially, no. Ryan Day was never going to name a starting quarterback this spring. We asked him about that after the first couple of practices. But he won the public perception. If you came into this spring already thinking Julian Sayin's the next starting quarterback, you left today feeling like that assumption was correct. And now this summer, fall camp is going to be about actually going out there and winning the job. And that's the leadership aspect of it. That's finding consistency with your throws. But yeah, I think we all thought Julian was going to be the starter here. And today I think he showed us why we think he was going to be the starting here. And so that's why I'm giving him a B, because he didn't do it all spring. It took him until the last time we saw him to finally show it, but he did do it, and he did it on the biggest stage inside of Ohio Stadium.
You changed the prompt on us.
No, I didn't.
We were great in the spring game.
That's not true. I'm the one with the mic and I just make the rules. That's all it is. I'm Steven, that's Andrew, that's Stefan. We're actually going live on YouTube in a little bit. So go listen to Buckeye Talk wherever you find podcasts and get the text. There's a survey going around about these quarterbacks, including one that used to be at Tennessee and whether or not you think he should come here or not. We're not going to have that conversation on this video right now, but 614-350-3315 to join the conversation. It's a 2-week free trial, $3.99 after that. Ohio State cops off the spring with its spring game and 3 pretty shiny rings. And we don't have rings, but we are 3 people. See you later.